Got my big drink today.
A Super Bowl champion.
The Green Bay Packers.
Awkwardly big.
Super Bowl.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
A game winner for Mason Crosby.
It's time for the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee, on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. The Fan, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
Good morning and welcome in. It's the Mason Crosby Show. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. So much to get to today. Action-packed show. Camille Davis, Dustin Doperak, Tommy Lugauer. We're locked on Bucks. We're going to the Indianapolis Star. We're going to WFAN, The Fan in New York, because the news does not stop. And, of course, we have to start with the kicker, live from the Lone Star State, Mason Crosby.
Well, I mean, we just have to start by saying thanks to the Bucks organization for giving us so much to talk about. I mean, we have a loaded up lineup of guests today, from talking about the Pacers and what this means for them, from an Indiana perspective. I've been reading all this stuff, and honestly, like, how do you feel, Mitch, about unnamed sources?
I in general hate them.
Okay.
I learned very long ago that if you say you have sources, you probably have one source, and it's probably iffy. If you say according to a source, a lot of times you better have multiple sources, and you just say you have one source to kind of cover up for your sources. But I just think, like, unnamed sources is complete garbage. It's complete trash. It means, I get trying to protect, but it's ridiculous.
This is what I was hoping for.
Yeah,
that's what I was hoping for.
Oh, we are so on the same page.
I was hoping for that because I've told you about people that write articles before they even do interviews, and I dislike that as well. Where it's just like you're getting interviewed with the article already written, and they're just trying to get clickbait or like tags for
their narrative,
article.
right? Their narrative.
It's the worst.
Like comment on this. And if you don't say what they want to say, they'll ask you the same question 4 different ways until they finally get that one soundbite. I told you, Bob McGinn was the best and worst at that. He was. He was like, so did you like this? Like, did you mean to hit that? Did you mean to miss that field goal in the third quarter? And it's like he's just wanting to get me to say something, right,
or come at him with something so he can be like, Mason's angry about the operation or
ridiculous.
What's going on at the stadium. But like why I brought that up is because there was this article on ESPN, and it's the NBA free agency. Oh gosh, I just lost it. What just happened?
Technology
NBA,
is the worst.
I know, this whole technology thing, but it was like like how the ripple effects of this Miles Turner, signing with the Dame Lillard, and it's like they have a quote. It's just reckless. One executive said.
Right, one executive
like,
and then that's the headline.
That's the headline. Yep. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the whole article was just a joke in my opinion. I'm just like, you have a nothing burger and you're trying to like go and grab things. Like, cause I'm like, who are your executive? Who are these assistant coaches? Like, would they leverage it? No, right. Because they don't have Giannis. They probably are some team. He probably called somebody that is a nobody and just started getting quotes to fill this article out.
The video assistant coordinator of the Miami Heat said it was reckless.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go with a team executive.
A team executive, yeah. Someone in the front office.
Exactly.
Reminder, this upsets me.
This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. We are now live on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. Many of our guests often will be on YouTube with us. When they're available, when they're not driving and those sorts of things.
Yeah, be safe out there.
We're always free on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. But I think that's where we have to start, Mason, is like, why does, and listen, there are things you can pick apart with the Damian Lillard decision. The Bucks are either going to be seen as visionaries or fools, and there's not a lot of middle ground with what they did. But why does the national media jump on that they are fools, that they are reckless, that they are panicking. Yeah. Like, why are those the words they are jumping on when Giannis is still a buck? Are they that mad that Giannis is still a buck?
I think so. I think that's like part of the narrative, right? Is that they want Giannis in a different market. A market like, and who knows, it might be their fandom. Like we talked with Dario yesterday, where it's like, you can't be a hardcore fan, but this underlying bias might be like, Giannis needs to be out of Milwaukee so I can root for him like in New York or in LA. You know, it's like, that is probably some of what's going on. And it frustrates the heck out of me too, where it's like, you owe Dame, like, obviously, would you want Dame to play? It hasn't quite worked out. It didn't work out for 2 years with him and Giannis anyways. Like, some of it was health. Some of it was, Chris Middleton hurt, all the things that happened. It was just a snake bit situation, right?
That is correct.
They owed him $112 million, whether he played or didn't. Like, not. That's how NBA contracts work. They're guaranteed. So you were going to pay that money regardless. Now they get to push it out for 5 years and get some new players, make some moves, really revamp this team to go and try to win it. Because I like some of the comments in that article, it's like they just leverage, they're going to look back in in 2 years and see what a huge mistake this was. It's like, but if they won 2 championships in those 2 years,
they're not.
Then are they going to be upset about it? No, you're just going to keep pushing forward. It's like, what are you trying to? I think sometimes people get stuck in that mud where it's like, we're planning 5 years out. It's like, plan for right now. So, like, you'll deal with it in year 3, 4, 5.
So Mason, take off media hat or media pundit, because we're
corporate Crosby.
My cap guy.
Right.
No, I'm like the cap guy.
And put on your fan hat.
Yeah.
What do they need to do in the next 2 years to be able to say to the national media jackwagon jerk faces that, hey, this actually did work out a little bit? Like, do they need to win a I know what I think. Do they need to win a championship? Do they need to get there? Do they just need to get past the first round, which obviously they haven't done in 4 years? What do they need to do?
Okay, well, as soon as you said that, my first thought is I think Giannis needs to break some of the silence at some point here and come out and just be like, hey, I'm excited. Like, I love my guy. I love Dame. I love the opportunity to play with him.
You should love Dame.
I hoped so much that we were going to go win a championship. I wanted it to work out. It didn't. I trust the Bucks organization. We're going to move forward. I'm going to get Miles Turner right, and we're going to go chase a championship with this squad.
Yep.
Like, I think there needs to be a firm, hard line across the organization, because as of right now, whether it's national media's fault or the organization fault, Giannis's fault, whatever, there is this tension that has built up, just because I don't think words have been spoken into it, right? So right. I think they need to get ahead of it for the fans' perspective. If Giannis comes out and says that, I mean, everybody's on fire, right? Yes. You're just ready to go into this season, committed to what they're doing, how they're doing it, and who cares about the $22.5 million at that point? Now it's like, all right, let's see what they can do. And then I think, as the chips fall, I think if they win a series, if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals in next year, I think we look at that as a real positive.
Yeah,
like that they did something smart, and that we're this organization is moving in the right direction. Obviously, the goal is to win a championship, but if they get there, then I think you still secure Giannis for one more year, and you go and try to win it in the second year with Turner. So.
Yeah, and then if you see that growth, you can see what moves you want to make in at the trade deadline this year, but there's still a move coming. I mean, and that's what a lot of people are wondering. Like, they had offered a qualifying offer to Ryan Rollins, then they rescinded it. They still have, I think they still have their mid-level exception, so they still have that $14 million. So everybody, who I keep talking to keeps saying Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. Do you just bring them in? And it's I could argue both of those till I'm blue in the face. I could argue against both of those till I'm blue in the face. I don't love the idea of Porter Jr. as the starting point guard. I'm just curious to see, though, like what Horst has up his sleeve, because I have to imagine not just free agents, but with other teams, he's still working trade thoughts.
Sure.
He's still like Kuzma's got to be on the market. I'm guessing that for the right price they would get rid of Kuzma today if they could. I think there's still more coming, Mason. Like with the flurry we saw yesterday, I don't think they're done.
Shaking it up for sure. I looked into that the Connaughton trade, and I wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Like, what do you like? Do you think that was? I mean, who do you think won that trade? I mean, I feel like they just had to offload him. They had somebody willing to deal because it felt like they kind of, the Bucks kind of gave up quite a bit to get a guy that like I don't really know anything about. So
and the rumor
tell me a
is,
little bit about the two guys that they brought in yesterday too that they signed.
Right.
What was the other guy? Harris?
Gary Harris, yeah.
So Harris.
Gary Harris has been a long-time shooter in the NBA. Did not play well last year and was hurt. Only played 48 games, I think, or something like that. He has a reputation as being just kind of like, just like a guy who can spread the floor. Like he's going to stand out by the three-point line and he's going to knock down open threes. He did that for a number of years in Denver. And so if he can get back to shooting 40% from three, which he's had multiple seasons in the league of shooting 40% from three, if he can be just that guy, catch and shoot guy, he can be great. If not, I actually think he's the type of guy that they could release or trade by midseason. Like we've seen that with the Bucks over the years. If a guy's not the right fit, they will get rid of him.
Just take a little shot on him.
Yeah. In terms of the Connaughton trade for Vasily Mitchik, I believe there are rumors that Mitchik is going back to Europe, and that was happening even before the trade, that he was planning on going back. Now, I will say, when he got traded from Phoenix to Charlotte last year, and it was his second time in Charlotte, he actually played pretty well. Like he was fantasy worthy. Like he was putting up stats on a bad team with injuries, but he got a shot, and he all of a sudden had games where he played pretty well. So I don't know if it's a stash, and maybe the Bucks have him, for the year after next.
What I'm hearing, Mitch, is that he is going back to Europe permanently, and he is being almost bought out. But he is in the buyout. He is giving money back to the Bucks.
Okay.
So he's due, I think, $8.1 million, but
and
he's
Connaughton was due $9.4, so it's a $1.3 million salary dump off the top.
But also then Micic is giving back his contract to the Bucks.
Okay.
So it is actually probably closer. It's probably closer to $15 million the Bucks free up with that trade as opposed to just the Connaughton money. I don't know the exact number that Micic is giving up or giving back, but you would it did say most of his salary will be returned back to the Bucks.
Well, I have to think from a fan perspective, like I get the money, and we get hung up on the $22 million. Again, that money was going to be spent. That money was already spent.
Right.
Like you paid Dame. You had signed that contract. It's gone. So, let's stop worrying about that. We have to be looking at a positive side of things that, Horst is, making some, these are some creative, serious moves that are happening.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If he ends up getting this thing where, you offload Connaughton's contract, you have to move some picks, but, I mean, the draft picks at this point, as long as Giannis is on this team, it's kind of like those draft picks are whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So now it's now you're making all these moves, you're doing all these creative pieces that sometimes we're hoping that the Brewers and the Packers are going to make, right?
Oh, they absolutely.
The Bucks are being extremely creative to try to
creative
make all
and
of this
aggressive,
work.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So I applaud just the excitement, the creativity, the way that it just started moving and flowing there yesterday, where it's all of a sudden it's oh my gosh, Horst has to be worn out and his team is just going full bore. I mean, this in all intents and purposes was their championship game. They were in the playoffs, locked in, doing their thing, front office work, and honestly, only time will tell if it was all the right moves. But it's got to be better than the last couple of years, or at least it can't. I don't think it's I mean, it could be worse, but the hope is that it's not going to be worse. They didn't win a playoff, they didn't win a series in the last couple of years.
And the headline right now with Windhorst on ESPN2 is
I do not. I told Molly yesterday.
Should Giannis want to stay with the Bucks? Should Giannis want to stay with the Bucks?
Windhorst is a Windhorst is he's
a
really
windbag.
He's bothering
Brian Windbag
me.
should
The
be his
stuff
name.
that he starts talking about, I'm just dude, get a like a creative thought in your mind.
Yep.
Like think for yourself too. Like stop just like going to this the bag of the Giannis or like the low hanging fruit that we're just going to just continue to talk about with any facts or evidence that something like that is happening. Like I just don't understand it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's that anti-Milwaukee, whatever it is. All right, we've got Camille Davis coming up next. We then have Dustin Doperak from the Indianapolis Star at the end of the hour. Then to start the 10 o'clock hour, we've got Tommy Lugauer from the Fan in New York because the Mets, who are, I'm sure they're so excited that they get to face Freddie Peralta and Jacob Mizorowski today.
Oh, same day.
Down with the Mets, up with the crew. Let's go. A packed show here today. The Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. It is a beautiful 78 degrees right now in Hales Corners, getting up to 87 today. Partly cloudy, some clouds coming in this afternoon. But you know what, people? Deal with the clouds because it is going to be absolutely awesome. I don't know what it's going to be like on the lake near Georgetown, Texas, but I'm guessing it is likewise.
Dude, I cannot believe it.
There.
This happens like once a year, where it's as hot in Wisconsin as it is in Texas, and once a year where it's as cold in Texas as it is in Wisconsin. I feel like my whole 16 years, it was like once a year I'd be like, oh my gosh, like we've like crossed, but it's only 81 here. It's only going to be 92
all right,
in Texas.
You guys beat by a little bit.
A little, but I mean, that's close. Tomorrow, though, tomorrow's going to be 87. We're in July in Texas.
We're dominating you tomorrow.
It should usually be 100 down here.
I agree.
So I'm happy about it.
How are you going to get that skin all leathery if it's not 100?
Oh, the sun still kisses.
Oh,
the sun.
The sun. Okay, just making sure.
Kiss.
Camille Davis next on the Mason Crosby Show. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. Mace, this is a good song, but I don't know if you ever sat down and listened to this whole album, August and Everything After. It's one of the best albums of all time, and this is like one of the middle songs. Like there are better songs at Counting Crows that they didn't release publicly.
Really?
But the whole album is just it's amazing.
Okay. I'm going to have to sit down
Tommy,
and listen.
you okay there?
I just one of the shows I like. It's this guy's dating a younger girl, and he's like, "Oh, you could tell her about how you've seen the Counting Crows," and it was just another old man thing.
All right, so here's an old man story really about Counting Crows. I wasn't when they came in '94 to Milwaukee. They played Mr. Jones first and said, "Now all the real fans can stay. Everybody else, you can go home."
Nice, yeah.
And that's kind of their attitude. That's always been the way they are. I know they're still playing now, and I remember one year at Summerfest, they played where it's they had to clear out Summerfest for an hour because of thunderstorms, and then everybody came running back in because Counting Crows literally started as they opened the gates.
I love it.
It was very cool. This is the Mason Crosby.
Rain.
Yeah, I'm old. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. Joining us now on the fan guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law, is our great, great friend, Camille Davis, who had the most boring day of all time yesterday. She just took naps. She was just at the spa, sipping an iced tea. So boring, nothing to do. Camille, tell us about your day yesterday and how it developed from what you thought it was going to be to what it ended up being.
Yeah, I woke up. I made myself breakfast, which I don't normally do. I've been trying to get in the habit of eating breakfast. Made a smoothie. I was sitting there feeling good about myself.
You needed that fuel.
Good for you.
Right. And the next thing I know, I get the alert, and I was like, Miles Turner. I was to Milwaukee. I was like, how?
Woo!
How?
Yes.
And then the next one came out of Damian Lillard is being waived, and I was like, wait, what? Okay. And then immediately I'm texting my co-host Justin, we got to do a pod right now, right? We have to.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're doing Locked On Bucks. We're doing all kinds of different media hits and just trying to make sense of this, because even our first episode of Locked On Bucks yesterday, we were just really still processing it. We were just mind blown trying to figure out this move and the ramifications of it.
Yeah, exactly. Camille, that we had the same reaction. I saw Mitch's face before he couldn't say anything, and he was just like something unbelievable is happening, breaking news, and he's and he said Miles Turner, and I'm and he kind of hesitated, and I'm like, is he about to say what I think he's going to say?
What?
And he's to the Bucks, and it was just we freaked out, and it was all that because we were still kind of just processing Brook Lopez being gone, right? And the signings that were going on, we were ho-humming a little bit on that. It's okay, what do we think about KPJ and Gary Trent Jr. getting signed, Taurean Prince, and then it's talking about Brook, and then get hit with that. And then it was kind of within that, then it's, Dame gets released, and, all the, and then all the national media now coming at it about oh my gosh, they're going to regret this 2 years from now.
Reckless,
they gotta,
panic.
Yeah. So I do want to ask you that, because you're always Bucks. You're on this, on this beat all the time. So what do you think the potential ramifications are, but what do you think of this this whole situation? Signing Miles Turner, releasing Dame, have to carry his contract out for 5 years. Just tell me your thoughts, because I'd love to hear it.
Well, I'd say one thing first. John Horst is somebody who he tends to make something out of nothing. It's like when you go in the fridge and you're like, I don't think we have enough to make something to eat. And then here he comes and he's like, y'all gonna like this meal right here I'm about to put together. I can put the ingredients together for something. It's every time you think that there's not a move that the Bucks can make, he finds a way to do something. Now, one can argue if it's always the right something, but I appreciate a front office being aggressive and trying to maximize the window of a generational player that you have in your city that wants to be in your city. So that's the first place I started, just John Horst. I don't know how you keep doing this and finding these different ways to try to add to this team, but I appreciate you always going for it. The on-court fit with Miles Turner and Giannis is just about as good as you can get. He gives you a lot of what Brook Lopez can give you with the shooting and the rim protection, but he's 7-8 years younger than Brook Lopez. Him and Giannis are around the same age, so as his contract continues to go, as Giannis plays through his extension, their contracts line up pretty well. I think Miles Turner has an extra year on there more than Giannis, but the timeline matches. The on-court fit matches. Plus, he has a bit more foot speed to close out if he does have to scurry out to the perimeter to try to defend somebody. So you like that aspect of it. They have the front court of the future for the Milwaukee Bucks, at least for the next, 2, 3, 4 years here, as long as Giannis is here, as long as Miles Turner is here. So I love that aspect of it. Now, the cap hit of what it took to get here, having $22.5 million on your books for the next 5 years, unprecedented. Never has a team had a dead cap hit like this that the Bucks are going to be experiencing. But one thing the Bucks, I'm sure, are looking at is the fact that, the salary cap is projected to keep rising with the TV money coming in. But we just saw when they announced it a few days ago, like the expectation was that the cap was going to continue to rise 10% every year. And it is for this upcoming 25-26 season. But they're already projecting that the 26-27 season might only go up by 7%. And someone might be like, 3% is not a big deal. But when you're compounding that percentage over time, it becomes a bigger deal. So there will be some cap levity with it growing, but you still have that dead cap on your sheets.
Right. It's still there no matter what.
Right.
For sure.
But ultimately, like, you're in this particular window right now. So I get going for it because Dame most likely wasn't going to play this year. I think if he was healthy, the Bucks might have explored trade options for him this summer anyways. But I also felt bad for Dame initially, but then thinking about it more of like, well, he has the opportunity now to rehab at home, be close to his family, pick where he wants to go.
Right. He can go wherever he wants. Like
and he doesn't have to leverage a team out contract wise.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
He's getting paid. He can go out and say like, hey, I'll play for a team friendly deal at the place you want to go to. Like it's the ultimate, like I think that's the dream for any player to have this opportunity at some point to double dip a little bit.
Right, to still get paid and choose where you get to go. Like I feel badly for him that it didn't work out here because
Same.
I think he and Jan, like they wanted it to work out here. But for big picture for Dame, like nobody should feel sorry for Dame. Like he's still getting paid and now he gets to pick where he gets to go.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that over 2 years of the Dame Giannis experiment here in Milwaukee, they only got the chance to play 2 playoff games together. And one of those games is when Dame blows his Achilles. So
That's crazy.
They just did not have much time. And when you think about that, like, man, it was 2 years and we did not get to see a fully healthy team. Even year one where Giannis is out and then Dame gets hurt during that playoff run against the Pacers and Chris Middleton's out there on bad ankles, just doing what he can to try to keep the Bucks going. That doesn't work. And then you say goodbye to Chris Middleton. The upcoming season, you try to retool around Dame and Giannis, and then Dame has the blood clot. So then he's out, and then he fights to come back. He comes back for the playoffs, and then he blows his Achilles out. And it's just like, I feel for the guy because even his first year here, we knew he was going through things in his personal life. He had to deal with the adjustment of not being around his family. And Mason, maybe you can talk about this aspect of it of an athlete, but I can imagine as an athlete not having your family, when you're used to your family being around you or being there, the toll that can take on you trying to compete at a high level, but you're still yearning and missing something in your personal life as well.
Man, Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks, you just always say the right things when you come on because, if you didn't know, this is Human Wednesday, so I'm glad you brought up some, as I like to say, humanness into the show because exactly, we dealt with that all the time, and that is the human aspect that doesn't get talked about all the time. That doesn't get put out into the national media perspective of what these guys go through on a day-to-day basis. A lot of them are away from their families. They're trying to the coordination of getting your family in for games or like how is that schedule going to work? Like we had those conversations all the time. And honestly, if I was going to continue playing, Molly and the kids were going to stay in one spot and I would just go and they would fly in and like I'd see them, on weekends or, occasional week offs whenever I could go. But honestly, we tried that for one season and I wasn't gone for very long and it was taxing. Like it's hard. It's mentally, honestly, it plays a toll on you physically just because of like the weight of it all. So I can imagine that, that was hard for him. And I've seen it across the board. I've seen some guys have the right personality for it, but like, honestly, if you want to be around your family and it's a support system that works, like it's hard whenever they're not there on a daily basis.
Yeah. And you saw that, like I was talking with the family member during Dame's first year and he was like, he's like, I've been through a divorce. So do you know how difficult it is to go through a divorce and also not be seeing your children at the same? He's like the Bucks ain't winning nothing this year with all of that going on. I can tell you that right now. But I think the human element does get tossed out the window a lot when talking about athletes, because people look like, well, you're getting paid millions of dollars, like deal with it. And it's like,
yeah, you can fly everyone in, like it's fine, it's easy.
Yeah, but it's still a part of it. So for Dame, like, wish him the best. I have nothing but respect for Damian Lillard. I appreciate his time here, even though it didn't work. I appreciate the swing the Bucks took. I appreciate everything that he put into it. But John Horst has found another way to try to transition into this next era of Bucks basketball, in which you look at the roster, there's still some questions on the roster. They still need another point guard. I still think they need a little bit more wing depth as well. They have a lot of smaller guards on the team that need some bigger wing options, I think. But this is a step in the right direction, I think, for building this team up in the next era.
Yeah, we opened the show. Camille Davis on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon. We talked about in the first segment that we don't think John Horst is done, that whether it's the mid-level exception or whether it's Kuzma or whatever is going to end up happening, there's still more moves to be made, which is unbelievable because they made 74 moves, and you only have a 15-player roster. How do you make 74 moves in one day and still make more moves? We do have a on the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line, 414-677-1250. Al's in Cedarburg. Al had a Bucks question for Camille. Al, go ahead.
Hey, Camille, how's it going?
Going well, going well.
Good. Well, thanks for taking my call, Thunder, and Mason. Appreciate it, guys. One of the things that, 2 points I wanted to make about the Dame situation that I don't think anyone's really touched on. So, one, it's a little bit more obvious, but we talk about the salary cap and the dead money as if we're paying for it. And I think what a lot of people forget is Jimmy Haslam and Edens are loaded. They do not care about the money. Look how much he's paying Deshaun Watson, and now look how much he's paying Dame Lillard. It's not a thing for him. The other point I wanted to make is when we took on this dead cap, it inherently really does make our future draft picks 1,000 times more valuable because GMs are going to be betting on us that it's going to be crap in the future. So we not only that, we then preserved our assets by, signing Turner, and then with the cap space that we had, but we've made our assets even stronger. So when you think about it that way, I think that's a really big silver lining that not many people are talking about.
It's an interesting point to go. I'll say this, the Haslam thing.
Thanks for the call, Al.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Al.
The Haslam thing even goes with like luxury tax, where it's like, I don't think this is the ownership group that's going to shy away from having to pay if they feel they have the right team, because to the point, Haslam has shown that he doesn't really care about the money. He will pay it. But although it's not our money with the dead cap, it does affect the team's ability to build a roster out. Because
it does affect their entire spending opportunities within the NBA rules beyond like that 2 billionaires own the team. We get that. But there is still a hard cap with aprons that they now have $22 less million for the next 5 years.
Yeah. And the draft pick point, absolutely. I'm sure teams are even looking at that 2031 Bucks pick even more favorably of like, yeah, we would really like that asset. But also, I think it also makes the draft for the Bucks when they do have their draft picks even more important, because you want to try to hit on these rookie contracts, because it would be very valuable to be able to have players you can play that are on a team-friendly deal for the next couple of years. Because if you can hit on some of those young guys, those young contracts, even the two ways, like the story of AJ Green and Ryan Rollins, who I do hope the Bucks still bring back this offseason, is one that you look at it like the pathway. Those were both two-way guys for the Bucks, and they played their way into actual contracts. So the Bucks also have to be very creative with their two-way slots and utilization of their draft picks and trying to hit on some of those as well.
Oh, Camille, yeah, that you hit it right on the head too. And like, I wonder, obviously, if Horst is working all this stuff out when the draft is happening. You go and you get a guy like Markovic, and then you send him to Europe.
And you can stash him, right?
Yeah, he's a stash guy. Now that's like maybe a 2-year project, and then he can come in and be a lower paid player for this team that might be an impact guy. Right away. So yeah, I think you're right. Right on the money saying that these draft picks, you got to be creative with them. You have to have a plan so that like whenever their time comes, like they can be contributors at a lower number. Yeah,
and it's going to be a big year, I think, for Tyler Smith for that very reason. Our second round draft pick last year, a guy who can space the floor. And honestly, I'm team bring Markovic over now. Like, I want him on the main.
You want to see him
now,
Okay.
Not for him to play, not for him necessarily to play, but we know one of the things he needs to continue to do is add strength to his body, to his frame. I would love for him to be with the team, getting in those reps, playing in Oshkosh, just continually getting the reps, being in the system, and honestly learning from, I think, a really good group of vets from him to learn from with Giannis and Miles Turner there, Bobby Porter. Like, those are some good bigs to be around while you develop.
And talking about developing your body, no one in the history of the NBA has done that better than Giannis, right? Yeah. From the 18-year-old gangly kid who came over here to the, the physical specimen that he is today. Tommy is in Bayview on the Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line. Tommy had a Bucks question for Camille as well. Go ahead, Tommy.
A couple questions for you. You kind of addressed it just a minute ago. But first of all, where is our future? I mean, when do we might not have another draft choice till I'm dead and buried.
Well, we got 2031.
They're
You'll
picking
still
next
be around,
year.
Tommy. Come on, you'll be all right.
That didn't change with any of this.
The
That's
Bucks
been gone for a while now.
They do have the 2026 pick. It's just in swaps, so we have to wait to see where
26
it
is a
lands.
swap?
But they do have a
got it.
first-round pick next year.
There you go.
Got it.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And what is our fascination with Bobby Portis? I don't know that I would have resigned him.
That's a fair question.
Did Mitch tell you to say that?
No, Tommy, thanks for the call, buddy. Camille, what is our fascination with Bobby Portis?
Bobby Portis gives you a scoring punch off the bench. He's great insurance for days or games if Giannis is taking off because, you can insert a guy who can go and get you, 15, 20 points. He's a good rebounder, which, as we know, for the Bucks has been a problem. And you saw this past season when Bobby was out grieving the loss of his grandmother, and then when he was out for the PEDs later on in the season, the Bucks rebounding suffered without him being in that lineup. I think he offers that. Defense has always been something of a question for Bobby Portis, but I feel like last year was one of the best defensive seasons we've seen from Bobby Portis.
It got better.
Yeah, but ultimately it's the scoring off the bench. It's the rebounding. He's a good type of big to have in a reserve role for you, who couldn't step up and play next to Giannis. He can play in place of Giannis. He has that versatility there that I think is important for the team.
I like that. And, we talked a little bit. Let's dive into some of the other guys that were signed. Kind of get away from the Dame, that whole conversation. So yeah, they signed KPJ. They signed Trent. Sorry, what am I?
Gary Trent Jr.
I was thinking AJ Green for some reason in my mind. I was like, that's all. I just think about him shooting threes. Gary Trent Jr. And then they signed Taurean Prince as well. And I think I saw like a tweet from you about the Taurean Prince signing, and we kind of went back and forth on that. I just want to why do you think they brought him back? Like what do you think Taurean Prince brings to this team as well? And we also talked about with Dario Melendez yesterday the culture thing, and I talk about culture all the time, where sometimes it's not what you see on the court on a day in day out basis, but it's availability, it's a guy in the locker room, it's culture. Do you think that's the type of guy Taurean Prince is, or what do you think his role in this team is going to be moving forward?
I think Taurean Prince is a good piece to have, especially during the regular season. I was surprised it was a 2-year deal. I thought maybe it'd be a 1-year vet type of situation, but 2 years vet men for Taurean Prince. I think he's a good depth piece. He showed that he can shoot the leather off the ball when he's open. And if the Bucks are moving to this offense, which I think that they are, where it's a Giannis-centric offense, where he's initiating the offense, you need the shooters around him. And I think part of the problem for Taurean Prince last year was twofold. One, I think he played too many minutes. And two, I think that he was played out of position. Taurean Prince is not a shooting guard. He is not a 2. He should not be trying to defend opposing team shooting guards. He is a 3, maybe small ball 4. And you have to play him, I think, in the right position. So I think this upcoming season, to be able to get him on a vet man, somebody who can shoot when they're open, someone who can move the ball, someone who can give you a little versatility defensively, it's worth having on a vet men, especially if some of the younger guys that you might be banking on to take a step don't. You can always fall back to the vet on the bench.
Nice.
Awesome. Camille Davis at Camille Monet on Twitter, Locked on Bucks podcast. Camille, we've got so much more to talk to you about. We're going to have to bring you back next week because we're going. We've got Dustin Doperak from the Indianapolis Star coming up next. We're going to make a cup of all his tears and just drink from the cup of Indiana's tears coming up. And then We've got Tommy Lugauer from WFAN in New York to get his take on Mets Brewers. We've got so much coming up today, but thank you so much for jumping on. What a day yesterday, and they're not done, right? More to come.
I don't think they are. We'll see how the roster continues to shape up. But thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
Right.
Camille,
Thanks, Camille
Davis, Locked On Bucks, our favorite here on, don't tell anybody else, but our favorite, right? Mason?
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah. She's the best.
Yep. Dustin Doperak, Indianapolis Star, coming up next on the Mason Crosby Show. Remember, thanks to Camille Davis for joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. It's a headbanging Wednesday, Mason. Let's go.
Yeah, buddy.
Get going.
Feeling it.
Once again, our thanks to Camille Davis, Locked on Bucks, for jumping on. Joining us now on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law, this action-packed show that we are just having so much fun with. From the Indianapolis Star in Indianapolis, Dustin Doperak joining us. Dustin, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. And, we got to start right away. It was almost 24 hours ago. It was like, right around, we were coming back. We were ready to do a segment on the Brewers at the Mets. And all of a sudden it flashed on the television screen in front of me and on my Twitter, on my phone, Miles Turner, 4 years, $107 million to the Bucks, which we, of course, here in Milwaukee thought was a pipe dream or misprint. Our reaction was elation. What was your initial reaction when that flashed across your screen?
I was pretty shocked. I mean, I was just like, you obviously look at the phone. I'm looking at Sham's tweets. I'm thinking, okay, like, am I really seeing this right? Like, what is this exactly? And obviously, the first part is like, okay, well, where'd they get the money? Yeah. And if it's not a sign and trade, how did they pull this off? Because I think that was probably what led to this in the first place, is that you just didn't know. Okay, Brooklyn was the only team that had any cap space and didn't have enough cap space to make that happen. So you're like, all right, well. On one hand, you're like, it's been 24 hours into the free agency period, plus all the time since the finals the Pacers have had to negotiate this. Kind of surprised it hadn't happened yet. And then you're like, okay, well, who could get him if not them? And obviously you find out later what happened as far as the waving and stretching of Dame. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised, but I mean, you're starting to wonder what's up on the Pacers side if this thing hasn't come together yet at this point. Certainly they claimed it as a number one franchise priority. And so everything, like, we're still getting conflicting reports as to what their offer was or how far they were willing to go. But, obviously if they weren't willing to go to where the Bucks were going to go, you're like, all right, I see how this happened. I would have expected him to get more, frankly. So, that was kind of my initial thing, was like, wow, all right, if it's 107, it's 4 years. That means they were not coming with the offer that you would have originally thought. And that obviously Halliburton's injury changed their thinking on a lot of this.
Yeah, Dustin, because before like Halliburton got hurt, I mean, there was discussions out of Indiana that they were going to go over the luxury tax. Like they were going to get their guy and they were going to keep Turner there. And then Timberwolves signed their guy to a $27 million a year type of deal.
5 for 125. Yeah. So he was at 25 per. Yep.
25 per. Yeah. So then it was just, it was interesting. You would have thought that, not absurd for them to be 27, 28 million a year to keep their guy in place. So yeah, like, just what do you think, that means for this Pacers organization coming into this next season with Halliburton being hurt? Now they're losing Turner. Like, what is their pivot in their next move? And, is hopes for them to get back to where they were this year, is that just kind of dead and gone there in Indiana? I
mean, it certainly doesn't look good. I mean, I always hesitate to say, well, they can't do this and they can't do that, because I didn't think they were going to get this far. I did not expect this team to be in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, I had them going, down in the second round of Cleveland. And so, and other people had them going down the first round of the Bucks. So, they've been written off a lot. So I'm trying to be careful not to do that again.
A little overachievers, yeah.
But in the same way, obviously we're seeing conflicting numbers as to what they were willing to give up, or what they're, we have a report. Basically, our Greg Doyle spoke to a source who told him 4 years, 95 was the offer. And we've seen elsewhere that they were never willing to go above 3 or above 20 million a year. And so the luxury tax, I think they're at 167 million in salary, and the luxury tax is right around 187. So they were about. It was a tick under 20 worth of space between, and they're well over the cap anyway already. So, and so they didn't have a lot of opportunity to really go get somebody else. Basically, if you're not going to pay him, your next option is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which you can pay somebody up to about 14.1 million. And so that becomes the cap as the guy that you can get. And by stretching this out as long as it went, they missed out on a lot of the guys that you could sign for that. So this raises a lot of questions as to the overall, idea. It's like if your hope, like it just seems like, and I don't know this for a fact, but it just seems like their view was, well, no one else is going to be able to offer him. We're going to be able to give him a lower offer than we normally could because there's no one else that could swoop in and outdo us on this. So, we're going to try to get him to take lower than he would have normally been expected on the market, be able to get him, keep him in the fold, go into the tax, but only a little bit into the tax, sort of moderate that, because as you go up, you pay more in tax money, and then you also get closer to that first apron. And so it seemed like their view was to try to get it all, in a situation where you could get him on a team-friendly deal, and you could, only be paying so much in tax money, and you would not have to bargain with anybody else. And so then when the Bucks swoop in and make a move that I'm sure the Pacers never saw coming in a million years,
shocking
in that space. And certainly it's a big risk on their part. They're throwing a lot of money at this. And so I'm sure they just thought no one would go that far. But now you're in a position where you're running out of options really quick. If they would have decided kind of early in the case, it was like, hey man, most we can do is 20. You're going to take it or not? And if the answer was no, they could have changed. They could have pivoted by now. Now you're looking at not a lot on the board. They can certainly throw themselves in the sweepstakes for both DeAndre Ayton and Al Horford, but they're going to be behind when it comes to both of those. It seems like the Lakers are, in the driver's seat for Ayton, and the Warriors are in the driver's seat for Horford. It's not impossible that you could change their minds. If you throw the full mid-level at them. Sell them on the idea of you get a couple years and you get Halliburton, when you get Halliburton back, he's going to make you better and he's going to reward you for running the floor and all these things. So, there's options. There's a couple options there, but there aren't many.
For sure. Yeah, Dustin Dopirak with the Indianapolis Star. We're talking about, Miles Turner, the move to the Bucks. Let's just talk about what, kind of on everybody's mind too, as you're talking what the Pacers were thinking with what they offered and not wanting to get over that. Now, the Bucks released Dame. They have to carry $22.5 million for the next 5 years. Going to be an issue, in year 3, 4, 5, more than probably these first couple years because he was under contract. Sure. They actually, found some value there. To be able to sign Miles Turner. But what's kind of your thought? It's almost like it's unprecedented. I think everyone's kind of just shocked that they would leverage. Like this is more of an NFL type of thing.
Sure.
Where you run dead cap, you do all that. It doesn't seem like the NBA does it a lot. So just tell me your thoughts on that whole situation.
Yeah, well. I mean, it makes it a big, kind of risky deal. I mean, you're in that you're throwing a lot of money at this, and if. Like in a manner of speaking, you're paying like $50 million a year for Miles, and like I think Miles is a good player. I mean, I think he definitely gets that. He certainly has his critics because his rebound numbers aren't as high as you want. You'd like him to be a little bit better scoring the ball in the paint, either just out of post ups, and that he only shot like 43% in kind of the 3 to 10 foot range. You'd like better than that, but obviously he gives you threes, he gives you shot blocking, and those are valuable things. And he really paired really well with Tyrese Halliburton. So I mean, it's going to be a painful loss for the Pacers. I'm not trying to underplay that in any way, but I mean, you're ultimately what you're kind of putting together is $50 million for Miles, and that's over the top. I mean, like by itself. Now, I mean, I guess there's the question of what else could you do? Like, I mean, you're looking at a situation where you have to do something to try to, convince Giannis that you're willing to make a push. And this is certainly you saying you're putting the chips in the middle, but what, does that make sense on the return? And so, it does seem like you're kind of scrambling, trying to do whatever you can do just to try to keep Giannis happy and try to make sure that he feels like you're willing to make a push. And that, it could ultimately, the trade asset could ultimately, bank for you long term. You could eventually say, this isn't working, but, he's making $28 million, so you could package them together. With something that could allow you to make a trade for somebody who might be rebuilding. I mean, like salary figures help you in that regard. I mean, the Pacers overpaid on Bruce Brown a couple of years ago, and that's why they ended up being able to get Pascal Siakam in a trade. Is that Toronto just wanted to move on basically, and so they're willing to take somebody that's being overpaid, but just they needed to make the trade work, and they're trying to start over. So all. that could play in the long term. You don't really know, but like it obviously gives you a younger, better version of Brook Lopez. But you don't have a replacement for Dame right now.
Right.
So
sure.
How much better are you in the Eastern Conference race at this point? Where do you really fit if you couldn't do it with Dame? Are you really better off, with Miles? And don't you have to do something else? And how can you do something else at this point? There's a lot of big questions there.
Yeah, Dustin Doperak, Indianapolis Star, joining us, and I think that's the question. Like throughout the East, right? Is like what are all these teams going to do now that Orlando goes and gets Desmond Bane? The Knicks bring in Jordan Clarkson, but do they have another move up their sleeve? Sure. Can Cleveland come back healthy and actually make a run in the playoffs after I'll be honest, getting embarrassed by your Indiana Pacers and which I'm getting. That was. I know the highlight of Miles Turner hitting that dagger jumper in the final game of that series. And I think the Bucks are kind of thinking that they definitely have another move or two, based on where their cap sits and what their roster looks like. But then is it enough? Right now for a lot of us here in Milwaukee, we just want the Bucks to get out of the first round because your Pacers have kind of you've laid the smackdown on the Bucks the past 2 years in the first round. Like, just get out of that first round and we'll all feel a little bit better, even if we overspent overall with the combined contract and the buyout with Dame. But just get out of the first round, and which sounds crazy with the team with Giannis. Like, you should be getting out of the first round every year, but it's like that's what the Bucks need to do at this point, right?
Yeah, no. So they've got to get pieces that get them out of there, and obviously, again, the entire landscape is going to be different. I would think they're not going to end up playing the Pacers in the first round if they make some kind of push. And but obviously, if I saw it correctly, right now their starting backcourt would be Kevin Porter and Gary Trent.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a move for another guard. Like there's a point guard, there's a starting point guard coming in.
We
don't know who yet.
Yeah, they need to get somebody. That's the unacceptable part right now. Unacceptable feels like a weird way to put that, but ultimately, you're not, if those are your two guys. And don't get me wrong, Gary Trent shredded the Indiana Pacers.
He was an effective starter with the Raptors for a couple of years. So I don't think the issue is as much with him. I think it's that Porter Jr.'s.
I like Gary Trent more than most people do, and I don't think Kevin Porter is bad, but you need a lead guard.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And I think that's what they're working on right now. We keep hearing whether it's Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. Rumored this morning that Malcolm Brogdon might be in the mix to come back to Milwaukee. Well, we're both very familiar with Malcolm Brogdon. His issue is health. He can never stay healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's man, how things have changed in the East since a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, just dramatically. A month ago. I guess a month and a half or whatever. We go back to the Tatum injury. Really the Dame injury. Sort of begins this just stretch of this domino effect of everybody just seeing these just crushing franchise-changing injuries just happening in front of you. Achilles tendon tear is just a brutal thing to watch because you just know, just you see it and you're like, oh, that's what that is, and that's a year out of that guy's life.
The curse of number 0, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's an eerie coincidence.
My son made me rewind the Halliburton one. And I'm just like, dude, I can't watch again. I saw it when it happened. Instantly you just see it roll up and it's like, he's like, I got to see it. And I was like, okay, well, you can do it because I can't watch those types of things. I've just seen too many bad injuries like that. And it's just like, I feel it through my body and in my core. Yeah. And you just hate that. It's how odd. What a postseason that 3 star players for their teams get these Achilles injuries.
Yeah.
And that always, for me as a player for all these years, it starts making me think, what is going on, right? Sure. It's just those are significant, serious injuries for those types of players to have that. And for me, it has to go to the amount of games that are played. It's just, it has to go to, they are stressed, their bodies can't handle this much basketball.
Yeah, and there's, with Halliburton in particular, it's so much he really had the gamble on the line of you're going to get it happened before, in game 5, but you're like, okay, like these are the most important games of your life. Do you want to, like you have a calf strain, like, yes. So you know that Durant thing is on the table. And it could happen to you. It's just the same way it happened to him. But, like the risk on the other side of it is you don't play and you never know. And that sits with you for the rest of your life. So you're looking at two just huge slabs of regret on either side of a decision. And I think, basically he put in his sort of Twitter post after he got done with his surgery, like, I still would do it again.
I'd do it again. Yep.
And that's the thing. And then you sit there and you put yourself in his shoes and you're like, if he just sits out with a calf strain when he feels like he can move, and he feels like he can do things like that, and they lose, like that's regret that's never going away, And so now this is also going to be, there could be regret that never goes away because he's going to watch a whole year. He knows, like, Tyrese is as smart of a basketball mind as he is, and he gets the business at a different level. Like Ty gets it, and he's sitting there knowing full well that Miles is signed, if he doesn't tear his Achilles, and so it's just like there's this multiple sides of just crushing regret. But yeah, I mean, like not only do you have the number of games, now you have the 65 game rule that matters on, for awards and everything like that. And those rewards matter for salaries. And, obviously I get it, why it's important for the NBA to make sure these guys are playing, why they want to have so many games in the first place. But this is the trade-off. This is the trade-off is that there's a reason they do load management. There's a reason why they came up with all these things. Sure. As annoying as it is, and because more than probably in any other sport, you're going to buy a ticket to watch one guy sometimes, you're like
watching one guy.
And for years have been like, well, I'm going to, like Steph is coming, and it's a one time a year he's coming to play, or LeBron is coming. It's a one time a year he's going to play, especially if it's a Western Conference team, at least with Giannis, you're going to see him a couple times. He's a division opponent and he's more likely to play in it. But it's like if one of those superstars from out west comes to town and like, you get that for your kid for Christmas. And it's like if he sits out for load management, you're like, man, like this really sucks. But it's like, well, that's still a human body, and these random games in February aren't their number one priority. They're thinking about making sure they're okay for playoffs, and but the wear and tear makes a difference. That's what a lot of times an Achilles tear is you've weakened that tendon over time and then it snaps. And so that's how that tendon gets weakened.
All right, Dustin Doperak, the Indianapolis Star. The Bucks just gutted the Pacers, not on the court, but by getting their guy. But Dustin, really appreciate you jumping on, and we'll catch up with you as the season starts rolling, and we can start diving into what it's actually looking like on the court. So really appreciate it, Dustin.
And at some point, we'll call you just to make fun of Anthony Richardson together.
That's fun. That's fun. I hope to everybody in Milwaukee, I hope you guys enjoy Miles Turner, the human. He's been a blast to cover. Just
Lego man,
Lego architect. Yes,
look, you got to see the stuff he builds. It's ridiculous. Like he
can't wait.
Like he could build an actual bridge you can drive on out of Legos. He's absurd.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a really, really good, solid human being. And so anybody who gets to cover him, everybody gets to know him. Just a good dude. So I'm happy for the people in Milwaukee just to get to know another really good dude. He's been great to cover. So and salute in Miles Turner's general direction for just being a decent human being.
Awesome. Dustin, thanks so much for jumping on today. Dustin Dopirak from the Indianapolis Star joining us. And he joins us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. I know everybody. Everybody who's listening on the Odyssey app and on 1250 and on 105.7, they all say it along with me when I say that. He's on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all.
That's all.
Nicely done. Well, talking about the Gruber Law Hotline, Tommy Lugauer from the Fan in New York is going to join us next. We're going to talk a little weather with him and a little Freddie Peralta, Jacob Mizorowski, bang, 1-2 punch today. The Mets might just want to forfeit. We'll see if that happens. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. The Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee.
Yeah, buddy.
Creeps. Sometimes I send place tricks on me. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. We're in the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The Milwaukee Brewers. We've been talking Bucks all the first hour of the show. You can catch all of that on the Odyssey app. We are also now live on YouTube at the Fan Milwaukee. I know Timothy, I know Eric, I know Serial Sensei have all commented on our video this morning as people are chiming in on the big Bucks signing and cutting and other.
We do have
signings.
other teams in Wisconsin, though, right?
We do, and so we want to turn some of our attention.
It's weird now.
I know, because it's been all Bucks the past couple days. But the Milwaukee Brewers are half a game out of first place of the wild card behind the New York Mets. Dare I say, the scuffling New York Mets, who have not played very well the past couple of weeks. We've got a great matchup today at 12:10. Freddie and Clay Holmes with almost identical records. And then Jacob Mizorowski's pitching the nightcap at 6:10. Think about being a hitter for the Mets and staring down Freddie Peralta and then Jacob Mizorowski. This could be a fun one. I'm not saying the Brewers will be in first place of the wild card by the end of the day, but there's a chance. And joining us to talk about that now from WFAN, the Fan in New York, he is Tommy Lugauer. Tommy, thanks so much for jumping on the show on the Gruber Law Fan Guest Hotline.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Good to be back on with you. What's going on?
What's up? Yeah,
we're just
appreciate
excited
you jumping
for
on.
Day-night doubleheader. Was it? I know the Mets have been scuffling a little bit recently. Give us the lowdown on what's going on with the New York Metropolitan baseball team.
Yeah, look, I always like to look on the positive side when it comes to the Mets. And
Tommy, are you sure you're in radio? Radio guys aren't supposed to look on the positive side, aren't we? Aren't we always supposed to be the negative voices?
And a New Yorker, yeah. I remember, Tommy. I applauded you for how positive you were as the only positive New Yorker.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, you know what it was? I woke up. It was like last year around Memorial Day. If you guys remember, obviously the Mets went on that crazy run. They got off to such a bad start, and I was doing a show over Memorial Day weekend, and I just went, you know what? I've been negative my whole life because I'm a Knicks fan. They never won in my lifetime. The Giants have won a couple times. The Mets have not won it basically in my lifetime. I was like about a year old when they won a World Series. And you're right, it's so negative around here. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start being positive, Tommy. I'm going to give not only for my own, health, because, you have this unhealthy relationship with sports because, unless you live through a dynasty, your teams lose a lot more than they win. So I'm like, you know what? Based on the business I'm in, the industry I'm in, and also just for my own fandom, I'm going to start being positive, Tommy. So I always try to give the audience here and just for my own self the positive outlook when it comes to sports, especially with the Mets, because Met fans are just, and they know this, they're always negative because we've been through a lot. So I think it's important to give the Met fans a voice that is more on the positive side than it is the negative.
I love it. All right, give it to us, Tommy. Give us your positive take.
Spin it. Let's go.
So, this is what I would say, and I think I'll try to relate it to your audience out there. Remember, I was on with you guys opening day, Yankees, Brewers, and we were just kind of talking about, the early start to the season, what to expect. And then we all know what happened. The Yankees just crushed the Brewers, and it was the whole torpedo bat stuff, which has quieted down dramatically because the Yankees have been scuffling a lot lately too. And I remember thinking, this Milwaukee team is better than what they showed this weekend. Their pitching wasn't where it needed to be. But if you were just somebody that wasn't familiar with the Brewers and maybe weren't even familiar with the Yankees and you just looked at the box score, you would go, boy, the Brewers are horrible and the Yankees are going to have this great season. Fast forward now all these months later, and Milwaukee has figured out their pitching, and they're one of the hottest teams in baseball. So I bring back the Mets into this, is that the Mets are kind of going through it a little bit with their pitching. Senga goes down. He should be back soon. Minaya goes down. He should get back soon. A guy you guys know, Frankie Montas, is just coming back, so he's working his way back, had a little bit of a rough outing the other day in Pittsburgh. So right now the Mets pitching is just not where it was earlier in the season, and I just think baseball just has its ups and downs, right? There's 162 games. Mason, this is not like football where you lose a game or two out there. I'm sure Packer fans are or you remember the famous Aaron Rodgers relax when you guys were either 0-2, 0-4.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But that's because with football, you have to wait on an entire week to get back out there. With baseball, the beauty of it is you get right back out there the next day. And I think with the Mets here, with the rain out yesterday and then the off day on Monday, it was a good reset. They had a team meeting on Saturday. So I think the Mets come into this series against a red-hot, really good Brewer team, mentally rested and focused back home where they've played really well. So I'm confident for them going into this series against the Brewers.
Wow. We got Tommy Lugauer, WFAN in New York, at Tommy Lugauer on X. But, the Brewers, you're talking about pitching. I mean, we got Peralta on the mound for the day game, and then our guy, the Mizorowski this evening, who is just red hot. How do you think the Mets, fare against two really dominant pitchers that the Brewers are bringing for this obviously doubleheader, which was not expected here against the Brewers here today? What do you think? What do you think these games are going to look like? Kind of having both of them. Doubleheaders to me are mind blowing, but still pretty awesome.
You guys never played a day-night doubleheader in football? You guys never
No, I mean, at some point the NFL will probably try to do that.
They probably will. That'd be great. How fun, Tommy, how fun would it be if the Giants and Packers got together in the Meadowlands one day, played a noon game and a 7 p.m. game?
It'd probably be just like the Packers would play Giants and Jets. Like, they'd get true. Both of them. Like, day
just
and
knock
a night
it out.
game.
And then you get a bye afterwards.
And then you get a bye.
Yeah, no, that would be fun. And to your point, guys, I don't put anything past the NFL. Like, I've said this all for a year or so now. I fully expect in our lifetime that there is going to be an NFL game every single night of the week on 100 different streaming platforms.
For sure.
They just push the boundaries because we'll watch. I think if they put a game on at 3 a.m. in some country, where the time zones are all different than ours, people would watch. They get a major rating because the NFL is different. It's not the same with baseball. Like I'm with you. I don't like doubleheaders, especially because I work an afternoon show. So I'm going to have to keep one eye on the show and the other eye on the Mets. But for your original question, I would say when it comes to doubleheaders, and we have Clay Holmes going in the first game, who obviously has made the transition from reliever into starting pitcher, you want to get length out of your starters. That goes for both sides here. So if you're the Mets going against the Brewers pitching, I would try to not be aggressive early in the game, try to get Peralta's pitch count up. Now, I know the Brewers have great pitching throughout, but this goes more for the Mets, too, is that they need to start getting some length out of their starters. Their bullpen is taxed, and we see this throughout baseball. To me, where the really good teams feast is on that middle relief that's not very good. That's where you see a lot of teams sort of flex their muscles. So I think the key for both sides today is to get length out of their starters. I know a couple of days off here, but still, the Mets bullpen is taxed, and they need to start getting some length out of their starters. So they need to get like 6 or 7 from Holmes, and the same thing with Peralta. And really for the Mets, one of the things that just needs a little bit of improvement that they've kind of been going through it this year is hitting with runners in scoring position, and that includes Soto. That's pretty much been a lineup-wide sort of thing. And I really believe with baseball, it's just the more opportunities you get, the law of average, you're eventually going to hit with runners in scoring position. I don't think it's like something that they're not clutch or they're pressing. I just think it's baseball. There's a million games, and the law of average says, because they're, I think, second worst in the league right near the White Sox, and the Mets are better, way better than the White Sox. So It's just one of those things that they're just going to improve on.
I like that, Tommy. Do you think, coming into this game, Brewers are half game back out of the Mets for that wild card spot? Do you think that Brewers go and they sweep this, the series, kind of get that lead? I mean, how important do you view this? We asked somebody that yesterday here in Milwaukee, and they're just like, I mean, from a fan perspective, very important. From player perspective, not so much. There's still a lot of season left. Do you think this is kind of a hinge point where if the Brewers keep rolling, it's going to be hard for the Mets to catch up if the Brewers find a way to kind of get out to a lead here?
Yeah, I mean, Mason, you know this. You played it, and I work with Tiki Barber, and I think you guys bring a great perspective because I do really believe the fans sort of panic a lot quicker than the players. They overemphasize a series more than a player's or a game in the NFL more than a player. Like, we're always thinking the sky is falling, the season's over. I think the players kind of go through it. They know it's a long season. Even in football, you kind of know the ebbs and flows and stuff like that. And sometimes it's not, and this goes for the NFL and baseball, really all sports, it's when you play a team, right? Like the Yankees caught the Brewers at a good time earlier in the year. And the Brewers are catching the Mets at a time here where they're going through it a little bit. But I always feel like with sports, whenever people think, oh, Milwaukee's hot and the Mets aren't playing well, Milwaukee's just going to roll through them. That's when sports kind of flips you on your backside, and you go, "Oh,
that's a great point.
Going to win this series." It always seems to work that way, and I always look at it that way. Even like like gambling, like you always kind of want to fade the public a little bit. Like if it's so obvious in sports, that means it's too obvious, and that means it's usually not going to happen. That's kind of what I've learned as a sports fan.
I totally agree. Yeah, that player perspective. It's literally, I never had until that final whistle blew. There was never a doubt in my mind that we were going to have an opportunity to win a game. You just kind of keep pushing. It was like Aaron, like you said, the relaxed stuff. It was just you just keep pushing until you're mathematically out of it. And the season, someone tells you that you're done, right? It's that is how the players view every game, every moment. It's just you're locked in, you're doing it, you're going into that. And it's up to us as the media, as fans to kind of keep the drama and the energy intact around all of these moments. But yeah, I think that was such a good point to say that, something like this, the second the Brewers think they're good, the second that they believe any of the hype that's coming around them with their pitching, with their bats, how they're playing on defense, all that stuff, that's when you get hit in the mouth, and then you have to really start grinding again. So the hope is that you handle success the right way and you grind even whenever things are going well.
No, absolutely. And that's sort of my point here, too, with the Mets stuff, with the positive Tommy stuff, is that it's now early July. There's a long way to go. I don't throw out the early season stuff with the Mets when they played great. I don't, overemphasize the stretch they're going through now. I think with all the games, you look at it as a totality and you say, all right, some of the pitchers are out. They'll be back. I expect the Mets to make moves at the deadline. I expect their hitters to hit with runners in scoring position. And just like Milwaukee, who was a playoff team last year, they get off to the start they got off to. I expected them to play well because they have a good team. Good teams always, sort of rise to the top. And yeah, I mean, like you said, fans and we as the media, we have to make it like it's, reality TV to an extent. I totally understand that element of it. But when you take a step back and you sort of relax, I like to say no biggie. All right, it's no biggie. We'll move on. And that when you look at the Mets, they got 48 wins. The Brewers have 47 wins. Both teams are in really great position, and I expect both to be there come October.
Tommy Lugar joining us from the Fan in New York, and we've been talking Brewers-Mets as there's a doubleheader today. Game 3 will be tomorrow. But, of course, here in Milwaukee, we've been pretty preoccupied with the Miles Turner signing, the Damian Lillard contract cancellation. I know in New York, you guys just signed Jordan Clarkson. What's been your take in New York from what's gone on in the NBA free agency universe over the past few days?
Yeah, I was thinking about you guys yesterday. What a wild day
it was
in
nuts.
Milwaukee to be a Bucks fan. It was crazy, and it all happened in an hour or so.
Yeah.
The first thing I would say is I understand the idea with the Dame situation. You're talking about a guy who's in his mid-30s. Yep. He's not going to play next year. That's a major injury. I understand the organization moving on, and I know there were reports that Giannis was not happy about that, which to me kind of goes in the no-duh category. Why would he be happy about that?
I like you,
But
Tommy.
that doesn't mean... Yeah, because I think that, and I get it, I was already getting texts about it. Obviously, I'm a huge Knicks fan. Giannis is unhappy. He wants out. I'm like, Giannis is, to me... No, I know the NBA doesn't have a lot of these guys. He just strikes me as a lifer there. He doesn't strike me as a guy that would demand a trade. He really brought Milwaukee. The Bucks there were talks they were going to move, right? And obviously won a championship there. I just can't believe Giannis would ever go to management and force a trade out of there. He just doesn't strike me as that type of player, that type of person. So I don't read any of that rumors as far as coming to the Knicks. And like I said, I respect and understand the situation. Business move to move on from Dame. When I saw the Miles Turner thing, I know this well in hand. Obviously, the Knicks have played the Pacers the last 2 years. Miles Turner is one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. I think that's a great pickup. And I think Milwaukee last year, they felt like a team. All right, I understand going for Dame, but they felt like they were a little bit older. Maybe it wasn't going to work out. I like the reset here, and I throw them right in the mix as far as Orlando, Cleveland, of course, the Knicks, Detroit, Boston. I hesitate to say that they're punting on the season, but boy, they really have taken a big hit here, obviously, with Tatum and losing KP, et cetera. Luke Cornett. They've reshuffled a few of their pieces, Drew Holiday. So I don't expect Boston to be as good as they were these last couple of years. And as far as the Knicks go, it's a head coach, right? Like the Tibbs thing sent shockwaves, similar to a Dame Lillard situation where I think a lot of people maybe were caught off guard by it. But I felt like the ceiling had kind of been reached with Tibbs, and I think the organization realized they can't get to the next level with him as head coach. Look, he's never won an NBA title. He did a lot for this franchise, but I'm kind of on board with moving on, and that's what they did. Now, whether it's Mike Brown or whoever they hire, I like what they've done with the bench here, Clarkson, Yabusele, and I think that when you look at the depth in this league, you need about 10 guys to compete with OKC, Indiana, those type of teams. So I like what the Knicks have done so far in the offseason, and hopefully they get a coach soon, but there really is no rush because no other team is really looking for one right now, but I'm confident they'll make the right decision because Leon Rose has done a good job here with the Knicks, so he has my confidence.
Nice. It's interesting they haven't gotten a head coach there as free agency starting, as they're trying to build a team, things like that. Who would you call the front runners, and who would you like to see there as the next Knicks head coach?
So I was kind of pushing for Johnny Bryant because I kind of wanted to go the route of young head coach, never coached in the league before as far as a head coach, assistant, kind of get that young, the next Eric Spoelstra, and I understand the lack of experience, things like that, but there were plenty of coaches that didn't have a ton of experience, took over a team as the head coach and have won championships. So I kind of like the idea that he had familiarity with the organization, having been an assistant head coach. But now it seems like he's going to stay in Cleveland. The favorites are Taylor Jenkins, who I believe is going in for a second interview, Mike Brown, who went in for a second interview yesterday. So those seem like the candidates. I'm pretty open to whatever, though. I'm kind of taking an open mind with this because I don't want to say the head coach doesn't matter in the NBA because it does, but it is a players' league. It's a league that's driven by the players. And I think that what plagued the Knicks this past season, and I say that plagued, I mean, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, but what separated them maybe from the couple of elite teams in the league was not developing their young players. Tyler Kolek, somebody you guys are familiar with out there, went to Marquette, a Dottier, a Huck Porty, and also expanding their bench. And now they've added those pieces, and I think the head coach, whomever that is that they bring in, will develop the young players, will play the bench more, will try to establish more chemistry with JB, with Brunson, obviously with Cat, and with Bridges, et cetera, and do things that Tibbs didn't do. I think that's the head coach comes in knowing that they have to make those changes in order for the Knicks to take the next step.
Awesome. Nice. Tommy Lugauer, WFAN in New York. Really appreciate it, Tommy. Always a pleasure having you on, and excited for this Brewers versus Mets series getting started here in just over an hour. So going to be a fun doubleheader today, and we'll be watching and look forward to talking to you down the road.
I appreciate it, guys. Anytime. Good to talk to you.
Awesome.
All right,
thanks so much, Tommy. That was great. Tommy Lugauer joins us on the fan hotline, the fan guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all.
That's all.
And we got a little extra, bonus basketball talk in there. I think,
heck yeah,
you got to do it. And I mean, everything that's happened over the past 24 hours, the Knicks still don't have a head coach. Like, they haven't had a head coach.
That is interesting.
They go through the draft, they go through free agency, they don't have a head coach. That's just weird.
Well, I mean, Tommy hit it right on the head. I mean, that shows how player-driven the NBA is.
Yeah, so
it's literally we'll just build a team and then we'll get a coach to just.
Can you imagine an NFL team like losing in the playoffs, firing their head coach, and then going through free agency, going through the draft, without a head coach? Like that's crazy, right?
It is crazy.
It is crazy. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. Yeah, just bizarre. We got a little more Brewers Mets chat coming up, and we've got a Packers question for everybody. What? Packers?
What?
Aren't they like honeymooning right now? Isn't Jordan Love doing his honeymoon? Like,
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
right.
he timed it well, so he gets a little time off before everything cranks up. What are we, about 20 days out before training camp starts?
Yeah, I think
21 days.
Yeah, something. Yeah, the 23rd. That feels right. Like the 23rd. I think that's right. We'll use our Google machines and we'll figure that out. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. We're presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. We're live from the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and the leadoff show's half an hour away. Man, cannot wait for Big Tommy Dub to get some dubs today on the radio.
I've literally haven't stopped working since I've talked to you guys.
I believe it. Yeah, you're just getting you're just posting up W's over and over.
It's my last name, man. W.
That's right. W is just coming off like cash at a club.
Oh yeah, that's where everyone's mind went. Yep.
That's where mine went. My mind went that because there's that GIF or that meme or whatever where like the guy.
I think Tommy deserves in the next segment just to at least give a quick take on his feelings on what happened with the Bucks yesterday.
I think Tommy just.
I feel like he's just he's just been stifled. He's taken over for the Pack-A-Day radio show in the morning.
All Packers.
He's got his leadoff show,
all
so
Brewers.
he's just all Packers, all Brewers. We're gonna give him a little shot just to give his insight into what happened yesterday with the Bucks.
What does Cudahy really think about what the Bucks did
yesterday?
yesterday?
What's Cudahy think?
Tommy Wirt next on the Mason Crosby Show. what you do with me. Please tell me. Please tell me why. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon. My name is Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder, and yes, I'm a better singer than you. That's just
yeah,
like
you are.
That's just like the every.
That's what
you.
people come on for, is just
Right.
to hear you sing along.
I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years, so why am I going to stop now, right? Like, let's
I
go.
hear you.
I've been doing
never
it
stop, never change.
I've been doing it since you were in college, Mason Crosby.
Never stop, never change.
I've been on the radio since Mason was in college.
I mean, to be fair, you were like in college or just out of college.
All right, that's fair. That's fair,
Yeah.
but that's just like, all right, fair, good. I just can't believe Mason was ever in college. Like, he just seems like he was born in a Packers uniform.
I was born in the
and
NFL.
Just, like, started kicking for the Packers.
Born again NFL player.
Was born full size.
I put my hat backwards. I knew you were going to talk about college, so I just I put my hat backwards to try to be
such
a
college
cool young
bro
guy now.
Frat boy Crosby
I'm just a bro.
activated.
Frat Crosby. Here we are.
All right. So we've got
Crosby, bro.
Do I want to restart my computer now? No, I don't.
Oh yeah, hit it up.
Oh my God.
It's restarting in 44 seconds.
All right.
I can't do anything.
All right, we are on the Mason
just so we
Crosby
know.
Show, and you are listening to us live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Sweating.
And we are presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. You can follow us on YouTube now, which is pretty awesome.
It is.
And
Antone just wrote in, I love this. Making my day better. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, let's go,
Statman
Antone.
Steve says Thunder. Eric says Camille is the GOAT. She is.
the goat.
She's unbelievable.
She is the goat.
All right, so we've got.
But now we have Tommy here.
Well, and before we do Tommy, we've got 2 leadoff shows today. Like, not just one. He's noon to 1 and 5 to 6.
I'm 11 to noon, and I am
11 to noon and 5 to 6.
Yes.
Yeah, because first pitch at 12:10 and at 6:10. And what else did he do today, Mason? What else did Tommy do?
He's hosting the Pack-A-Day radio show for Andy Herman. I do believe that this is the vacation station is what we are.
Wow.
A lot of hosts go on vacation around here. I mean, just enjoy the summer. So at least we have Tommy. We have Tommy to take over and handle all business whenever we're gone.
Handle all business when gone. Yeah,
But because you're handling so much, Tommy, I'm going to ask you, like, what do you feel? What are you feeling about the Bucks moves that they made yesterday? And what are your hopes and what are your feelings about this upcoming season now?
To be completely transparent, I think the move is A+. I wouldn't even. I really think that this elevates the Bucks to a top 3 seed in the East. I think that Damian Lillard was not going to be a part of this Bucks team. So I don't know why everyone is freaking out about money that's going to happen over the time. I also think that the NBA is different than the NFL as far as what happens with money and salary caps and how you can handle that. And we had Al call in earlier from Cedarburg. He brought up a great point. The luxury tax, if you got rich owners, they have no problem paying it. They will send it off. They will make it work. The Bucks have been in the second apron for how many years now? This is not anything new to the Milwaukee Bucks fans. Now, it hasn't really worked out or translated into championships since 2021, so I understand that frustration. But if you're upset to see a guy like Brook Lopez leave, just for what he did for the Milwaukee Bucks, you get Brook Lopez back in Miles Turner, who's a more athletic version of Brook Lopez. He shoots the 3-ball well. He blocks shots very well, and he can run the floor. We were talking about Miles Turner being, a pipe dream for this Milwaukee Bucks team when free agency first started, and this was going to be someone that his play style fits Giannis so perfectly. And the Damian Lillard era, saga, whatever it is, didn't work out in Milwaukee. Was there any evidence that showed it was going to work out in Milwaukee that people should be upset about? I didn't really see it. I think that Damian Lillard is a very good player, and he has done amazing things in his NBA career, and he is justifiably a top 75 player according to the NBA in the history of the game. But I don't think the play style with Giannis necessarily meshed very well, and that if they want to focus on being, competitive in the moment, Damian Lillard was not going to play for the Bucks. So I don't understand. I did think that it was crazy to find out it's the largest buyout in NBA history by a lot. I mean, it's not even close. The record was back in 2000, a guy I've never even heard of for $31 million.
Who was it? I've definitely heard of him.
No, I mean, it's like it might as well have been Gershon Yabusele, like something like that. It was someone along those lines. It was from 2000. Brian Windhorst said it, and I can't remember the name now.
Bison Dele.
Yes,
Brian Williams. Yeah, he passed away. He's a power forward for the Pistons. Who changed his name and then went on a boating, got into a boating accident, and his wife, I think, might have killed him.
So $31 million for him, and now Damian Lillard is $112 million.
Well, until Bradley Beal gets bought out next week.
Possibly as well. Yes, that could be someone that competes for that spot. But I love the Bucks just trying to think differently. I mean, it's the Moneyball-esque of basketball right now. It's kind of the opposite where they're spending more money, but it's finding a way to move money around to make things work. And I think that the Milwaukee Bucks and John Horst especially needs to be applauded during this, because we are always talking about how we want the Packers to make this move. We want the Brewers to make this move. The Bucks have done that for the last 5-6 years. Every time.
They make the move.
Every time. And you should be grateful to have a GM who is willing to take calculated risks. So
the effort is there.
I think that in a year where the East is going to be very down, as far as Boston really punting on the year, Halliburton's going to be out all season as well, and the other teams around, we're relying on the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks to figure out how to be a good team in a year. It didn't work for Houston, and everyone was very high on them this season. So I think it's an A+ move by John Horst. I love bringing in Miles Turner, and I think the Milwaukee Bucks just elevated themselves into a top 3 seed in the East next season.
See, I knew Tommy needed to get out from under that the Packers Brewers talk. He needed to spread his wings into the Bucks verse here. But I do want to go to our talk and text line, the Nicolay fan talk and text line, Nicolay Law, fan talk and text line, 414-677-1250. We had a couple responses earlier in the show, and then one just a few minutes ago. 626 wrote in, Bucks have the rest of the East on notice. They're back to contenders and challenge back to NBA Finals. Totally agree. The 352, not sure where that is, but
Orlando?
The Bucks are all the way back.
I think
bring on any
Orlando.
squad in the East. It goes through Fiserv next season. Oh yeah, bring that juice. The 201. Oh man, I love the different area codes. Let's go. Bucks title run.
In different area codes.
Yeah. Maybe Tommy.
Yeah.
Bucks title run just began yesterday, post-trade, along with the Packers. Titletown gonna be celebrating 2 parades. Let's go.
And I do think that Miles Turner, I do think Damian Lillard is a better basketball player than Miles Turner. I don't want that to be in the script anywhere. But I do think that the Milwaukee Bucks are trying to build around Giannis. And if you want to be mad at all of the outlets saying, hey, why are they trying to trade Giannis every year? Why are they trying to trade Giannis every time the Milwaukee Bucks don't reach the title? This is a move that is keeping Giannis happy. And there were reports, yes, Giannis was not happy about it.
Please.
But then there was also reports that Damian Lillard was elated that he was released and waived. Now he gets to explore other opportunities and go out and double dip, like you said.
And there have been different rumors about where those reports came from. The report was that the guy who said that Giannis wasn't pleased apparently is really close with Dame Lillard's camp. And so there's rumors that not Dame himself, but people in Dame's camp leaked that to this guy that Giannis wasn't happy. So that's just a rumor. All of this is rumor. Giannis even posted yesterday that he was what is going on out here? Crazy. Giannis is in Greece. He's living his best life. He's all good. To your point, Mason, we need Giannis to just come out and say, let's get to work.
He does need to say something at some point, just about Dame and about how he wished it would have worked out, and they had high hopes. It didn't work out, and now we got a great player in Miles Turner. We just literally took him. I mean, like Dustin said, Miles Turner was an Indiana Pacers priority 1. You just took a rival team that knocked you out of the playoffs. you just took one of their priority players and just made them a worse team. So like that alone is like a really, really big positive.
And on top of
in
that,
the NBA, that is a big deal. It's not like taking a cornerback from another team and it being like, he's going to change our whole, thing. Like, this is an impact player for a team that you could not get past and that you had issues with the past couple seasons. This is a big deal for the Bucks.
On top of that, it's not that he was just Indiana's priority number one. Like, there were outlets saying that if he was available, he's like the best free agent available this season.
Right.
This wasn't
even anything we could have hoped for.
Right. This was like I said, this was not something that people did not think across the league Miles Turner was available. They thought Indiana was going to get this done.
Yeah.
And
Indiana did too. Like
right?
Dustin said, they were like, yeah, we'll just offer. Like, no one has money. And like the fact that Horse, like they literally got so creative that they could open up money, the space to go and get a player of that quality is really impressive.
And Indiana,
so when this all unfolds, the money stinks that it's pushed out down the road, but like what he was able to accomplish yesterday was, I mean, it's going to go down. It's going to go down in history regardless of just like a really, really creative maneuvering from a GM in the NBA landscape.
Completely agree. Agree.
He's Mason Crosby. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to reset. It's the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. We're in the fan studios powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. What else, Mason?
Thanks. Sorry. I didn't know what we were doing. No, I was just going to say what Dustin, said as well about Miles Turner being like an awesome person and a guy that, apparently, obviously will be a great teammate. Like if you're a good dude, like you're probably a good teammate. Is an interesting person, like this whole Lego thing. Like I saw his post with all these Legos that he built, like his top favorites. I mean, something like that. I mean, the guy is detailed. He works hard. Like he's willing to do tedious tasks. All that stuff applies to stuff like things you have to do on a basketball court in that space whenever you're playing sports. Like the fact that he can focus and do all those things, like I know it seems like a stretch to have that comparison, but it's really not. Like he's working his mental, his tactful stuff. And all that stuff helps you whenever you go out and play the sport that you've been, given the ability to go and play. Yep. So I think all those things are going to pay dividends. It's good to have a guy that has all of that, uniqueness about him coming to the city of Milwaukee.
I think that word uniqueness is a great word, Mason. Because I was going to say, like, how much do we like when our athletes have more to their lives than just sports? Like, whether it's a quirk or an interesting hobby or they're involved in the community.
It got Bobby Portis another contract.
Right. It got Bobby, and it kept Pat Connaughton here for a couple extra years, too. Yeah. And it's like, we all know Brooke Lopez and Disney and comic books and that sort of thing. But, like, it keeps things interesting. And the fact that Miles Turner comes and, like, loves Lego, like, shows that, like, he's not just, like, up in his ivory tower counting his money. But,
exactly.
There's a realness to him that, like, wait, he likes Lego? My 12-year-old likes Lego. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a connecting point, and I think again, interesting people that are like he's doing something. It's not like he's not out of the clubs, like he's not showing all the money he's spending, like his car or whatever. Like he probably has really nice cars.
Sure.
But it's like this Lego hobby is something that he takes a lot of pride in. And it's just really awesome, and I think people will be able to connect around that. I can't wait for Lego night at Fiserv
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
yes,
that's for sure a thing, right?
Mason, I want to switch gears real quick before we get to Mason's extra points. We do have a 3-game series in New York with the Brewers, a doubleheader today with Freddie and Miz. Tomorrow, Jose Quintana, former Met, on the mound against his old team. What is success in your mind? Do the Brewers need to win 2 out of 3? If they lose 1 out of 3, but they look good, the Mets have been struggling, but maybe the day off is the reset they needed. The Mets are still really good. You're going on the road. Like, obviously you don't want to get swept, but what do you want to see from this series?
I mean, kind of the always optimist in my inside of me says that I would love to see them win the doubleheader today, like win both games today.
Freddie and Miz.
Yeah, you got 2 great pitchers. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like
I don't hate it.
Like our pitching lineup couldn't have fallen
those
better
3
for our
is
starters.
Right, absolute fantastic.
But I think if you win, if you win the doubleheader today, if you get both these games, honestly, whatever happens tomorrow is just kind of it doesn't really matter in my opinion. Is in the scheme of like caring, because now you're going to be a game, or I guess you'll be a half a game ahead, right? If you win 2 out of 3.
Yep.
Is that yeah?
You'd be if you won. Yeah, if you won them both,
you're a game.
Yeah, you'd be a game and a half ahead. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So but honestly, I could see them maybe not getting this first one this morning. Miz coming out this evening and just throwing that heat and just kind of wearing that Mets team down, because they're going to be grinding with those days off, with kind of how they've been, struggling a little bit before that. I think the Mets are going to come out focused, ready to be locked in and have a good outing this afternoon. So I think the Miz has like the better opportunity to go out there and take it to them this evening and just really kind of beat them up,
especially against an opener, right? Tonight there's going to be an opener, like exactly. The Mets pitching staff is going to be a mess a little bit tonight.
Yeah, and like Tommy Lugauer was saying, like their bullpen is just worn out. Like their relief is just kind of stressed to the max. So I could see that as well. Lose this first game, win the next 2. I can't imagine a sweep. A sweep would just be unbelievable, but I think it's a very realistic possibility that the Brewers come home 2 out of 3.
Love that. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. It's the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. Mason's Extra Points are next.
Always kicking.
on Mason Crosby's mind today. It's time for Extra Points, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nelles on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
All right. Thanks for joining the Mason Crosby Show today on this Human Wednesday. We humaned it up. We had 3 awesome guests, starting with Camille Davis and Dustin Doperak with the Indianapolis Star, just collecting his tears as the Indiana Pacers lost one of their best players. And then Tommy Lugauer to wrap it up on from WFAN in New York, talking about this Mets-Brewers matchup. So many awesome things happening in Wisconsin sports. I am so excited about this upcoming Bucs season. I do think they still need to get another piece. Probably just gotta shore up that point guard position. And find maybe just another veteran piece there. Someone we can all feel good about before hope becomes our strategy. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this matchup. I think it's a great opportunity for the Brewers just to see where they are. Truly, they've kind of had a weird couple series leading up to this against the Pirates and the Rockies. So I think this will be a good one. Go on the road, see if they can stay hot. Lean on these starting pitchers and their bullpen, and just find a way to bring 2 out of 3 home. If they can do that, and they can jump in front of the Mets in that wild card, I just think it's going to be hard for someone to catch them. I think that they're going to keep catching fire and moving forward.
Also really exciting in Wisconsin sports in the state of Wisconsin. Today at 1 o'clock at Hellfair Field, in the shadows of American Family Field, where the Brewers play, will be Whitefish Bay U12 taking on Kettle Moraine Lutheran U12 softball.
Nice.
Little Rumble getting the start. Probably in right field, maybe second base. We'll see.
Heck yeah.
But excited for that. That's just a couple hours away here. So getting ready for that. But getting ready in like 5 minutes is the first of 2 leadoff shows today, which is going to be great. Tommy Wirtz will be bringing that to you.
Send Tommy some food.
Yes, exactly.
He's not going to have time to get anything.
Remember to listen to The Fan for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the one and only Adam Sandler. His live tour is coming Sunday, October 5th to Fiserv Forum. Visit thefanmilwaukee.com for your chance to register to win a pair of tickets. That's thefanmilwaukee.com. Mace, what do you got the rest of the day?
I don't know. Chasing kids around. There's actually, did you know there's a Kalahari down here in Round Rock? So
let's go.
We were discussing maybe going and hitting the water park this afternoon, but just hanging with fam, getting ready for the 4th of July. We got something great planned on Friday, and it's the preparation never stops. So we're building out forts. We're getting the little army men ready for battle.
We will give you extra time on Mason's Extra Points tomorrow, so we can really break that down. Break down what the play-by-play of Friday is going to look like. I can't wait.
Yeah, Molly ChatGPT'd a whole rundown chronological battle that we're going to have on Friday, which she almost lost. My dad and we were sitting there, and I'm like, Molly, you're giving us too much info. We're probably just going to go and shoot and throw fireworks for most of the afternoon. I don't know if any of this is going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we will have more. Of course, Drew Wagner will be on the show tomorrow to break down the doubleheader with us at 10 o'clock tomorrow. This is the Mason Crosby Show with me, Mitch Thunder Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee, live from the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Let's do it again tomorrow, Mace.
Yep, see ya and talk to you tomorrow. We're on YouTube.
Woo!